Chapter 26, practice problem number 3. For this exercise, we are to compute the payback period for each project and also the net present value on the unequal cash flows for each project. And we have to determine, based on the payback period that's computed and also the net present value that's calculated, which project is preferred to take on by the company. So we are given the initial investment costs for both projects and also the net annual cash flows that's to be generated in the future. So for 3 years. And we are given the rate of return on the investment of 10%. Okay. So for letter A, we have to compute the payback period for each project. So when it comes to the payback period, we just need to figure out from the initial investment how many periods or how many years is it going to take to recoup the investment or to recoup on the investment. So how many periods is it going to take for us to get back our, in this case for projects 1 and 2, $60,000. So we're going to start off with project 1. Okay, so project 1 starts off with an initial investment of $60,000. And so we see for year 2, the company's projecting that they're going to generate cash of $30,000. Okay, and then for year 2, another $30,000. Now, this is not taking into consideration the time value of money. This is simply just taking the net annual cash flows and applying it, or I want to say, yes, applying it to the cost of the investment. And that's it. So we see here that years 1 and 2 together, so combined, this is going to be 60,000. So this means that for project 1, it's going to take them exactly 2 years, or we can say, oops, I misspelled years. We could say that 2 years is going to take them 2 years or periods to recoup on their investment. That's for project 1. Now we go to project 2. Project 2 also has an initial investment of $60,000. Okay. In year 1, they are to generate cash flow of $35,000. Okay, so we know it's going to take them more than 1 year to recoup on their investment. Then we have $20,000 for year 2. Okay, so we know just from the numbers, 35 plus 20, that's $55,000. It's going to take them more than 2 years to recoup on their investments. So we know that off the bat, it's going to take them more than 2 years. Now for year 3, they have a annual cash flow of $20,000. So we know for sure that after year 2, that they're going to be recouping on their investment, but it's going to be somewhere, it's going to be sometime after year 2, but before year 3. We just have to figure out exactly what is the payback period on this investment here. So after year 2 is done, we see that the cash flow came out to be $55,000. Okay, so we know that we need $5,000. Well, we have $5,000 left to be recouped, and that's going to be recouped after 2 years, but before 3 years, because in the 3rd year, the cash flow here to be generated is $20,000. All right, so we know that we don't need the full $20,000. We know that it's not going to be right at 3 years. So we know it's going to be before 3 years to when they'll actually be recouping on their investment. So here's how to figure this part out. So we're going to take what is left over, or what is remaining. So we got $60,000 as our investment. We're going to subtract out the $55,000. That's from 2 years. Okay, that gives us $5,000, remaining. And so we're going to take this 5,000 and we're going to divide it by, I'll just put it this way, divide it by 20,000. Okay, this 5,000 is what is remaining. to be recouped, and then 20,000 is what is to be generated all in year 3. So that's going to come out to be 0.25. So since we know that it's going to take longer than 2 years, and we know that it's going to be before 3 years, which is going to be 0.25. This is our calculation here because we only need to recoup $5,000 that's left. This is what we're going to take 2 years and add the 0.25, and that's going to be our payback period here. So I'm going to put 2.25 years / periods. Okay, so this lets you know that it's going to take more than 2 years, but it's going to take more than 2 years to recoup on the investment, but it's going to be less than 3 years. So, just basing off of these two projects payback period that's computed, well, the sooner you get paid back, the better, which means that what it does ask us which project is preferred. Project 1 is preferred based on the payback period. Now we go to letter B, and this is where we have to compute the net present value. Now we're going to be taking into consideration the time value of money for each project, and then we're going to have to determine which one is preferred to invest in. So we're going to start with project 1. Okay, so project 1, we're just going to take these cash flows here for, let me just zoom in here, for years 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to start off with year 1. Year 1 is going to be 30,000. So since our rate of return or required rate of return is 10%, and this is for year 1, we're going to go down to period 1, and we're going to go to 10%, and we're going to apply this 0.9091 factor to the $30,000 here of cash flow. So 0.9091, that's going to come out to be $27,273. Okay, year 2, we're going to take that $30,000 cash flow, and we're going to multiply it by period 2 under 10%, that 0.8264 factor. And just so you know, this is the present value of a dollar table that we're using. Should have said that earlier. Okay, so when you do need to calculate the net present value of a future investment, you will be using the present value of a dollar table. Okay, so 30,000 multiplied by 0.8264, that's going to give us 24,792. Okay, last for year 3. Year 3 is $5,000. That's pretty low. $5,000. They don't have any faith in year 3 to generate some cash flows there. So $5,000 in year 3, we're going to multiply it by, so period 3, by this 0.7513 factor. And that's going to give us 3,757. Okay, so now we're just going to total the net present value of these cash flows up. 27,000 plus 24 plus 3,700. That's going to give us $55,822. So this is our net present value on the future cash flows to be generated from project 1. Now we go to project 2. And do the same thing, but with the project 2's cash flows here. So project 2, we have the cash flow for year 1 is 35,000. Okay, we're going to multiply by 0.9091. And that's going to give us 31,819. Then for year 2, $20,000. Multiply that by 0.8264. That's our factor for year 2. That comes out to be $16,528. Then for year 3, $20,000 multiplied by factor 0.7513. Okay, that's going to come out to be $15,026. I hope my math is correct. So this means that the net present value for the future cash flows for all 3 years in total is going to be $63,373. Okay, so this is our net present value for project 2. Now, which one that is preferred to invest in? Okay, so we get the initial investment for both projects of $60,000 each. So, or project 1, well, if we have an initial investment of $60,000, we can see that we're projected to lose money. Exactly $4,178. That's not good. So that's the projection there for project 1. Losing money. Since the cost of the investment is going to be greater than the net present value of the future cash flows to be generated on that investment. Now we go to project 2. Take the $60,000. Right off the bat, we can see that the net present value is greater than the investment. So that comes out to be a positive $3,373. Okay, so right off the bat, we can see that based on the net present value, if I zoom out here, on both of these projects, well, project 2 would be preferred to be the one to invest in. Okay, so from letter A, well, according to the payback period, project 1 would be the the project to invest in over project 2, but when it comes to letter B, calculating the net present value on the future cash flows to be generated on both projects, project 2 is going to be preferred.